Welcome back to another video, and I am very happy to say I'm back at Nottingham strong today. As much as it's been an amazing 4 weeks bouncing show to show each weekend, it's nice to be back home this weekend, back in the gym, back training at my home gym and doing what I love. So yeah, it's good to be back in the gym filming a video. So here we go, guys. So I've got a lot to share in this video, but I'm going to try and get it done quickly. So follow along. First of all, I'll quickly recap on the 4 shows in 4 weeks and basically the issues I ran through and the challenges I faced. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I've loved every moment of it, but I'd like to share the reality of the struggles maybe that I had along the way so that people can take something from it. Also, following on from that, I'm going to share 5 tips of things that basically were reinforced to me over these 4 shows in 4 weeks. 5 things that I feel any competitor should listen to and apply to their own journey in competing as well. So yeah, we'll get into it. Follow along. Okay, to quickly recap the 4 shows, I'm going to start from the beginning and just say how it was going from show to show. So I did upload the video from the Dubai show, was very happy after that show. I thought that would be the biggest challenge because it was the furthest distance to travel with a bit of time difference before the next show and only 6 days till the France show. To be honest, in terms of going from that show to France wasn't too challenging in any way because I felt good off the stage and I felt confident going into the France show off the back of it. I'd already made the decision that I wasn't going to carb up too heavy for that show because I wanted to prioritise looking at my best for the UK show after that. So in terms of getting on stage at that show, I was actually feeling quite confident at that point, so the week leading up to the show was perfectly fine. Once I'd been on stage and come off, that quickly changed. Wasn't very happy in the result based on how confident I felt going on stage. Came off, got some judges' feedback, and just to put it shortly, it wasn't very positive at all. It was quite harsh feedback from one of the judges in particular, which kind of made me think things through a lot and self-reflect, but also know that I had to dig deep going into the UK show. So from a physical standpoint and also a mental standpoint, the week leading up to the UK show was very, very tough. I had to dig real deep. I'm talking real high cardio, high steps, low food, really to make sure I could nail the peak for the UK show. So that was challenging in that way. UK show, I expected this one to be the easiest in terms of no fly-in and also no time difference, being back home. The run up to that show, like I say, was tough, but then I was very, very happy with how I looked going into that show. I can say now that was the best I've looked in this prep, was how I looked for that show, even though there was still room for improvement now going forwards. So I was very, very happy going into the UK show. Stepped on stage feeling very, very confident, which was a big win in itself based off how I felt coming off stage in France 6 days before. So massively love that. Then I only had 1 show left, and to be honest, that became very, very tough to peak for that one at that point. I'd done 3 shows in 3 weeks. Not only that, if you watch the UK show video, that show was very, very late at night. And what I also got was real bad cramping in my calves after the stage. Again, don't want to sound like I'm moaning, but I'm quickly just saying the challenges that I ran into. As a result of that cramp, I then couldn't sleep very well that night, so I only managed to get 2 hours sleep. I fell asleep at 4 AM, woke up at 6 AM in a lot of pain and ran a hot bath in the hotel to try and get rid of this pain and ease off my calves. Now what came as a result of that was a lot of pain in my legs for the next few days, and I had to get a lot of steps in and cardio to try and burn off the carb up, because if you're doing your carb up right, you're in a calorie surplus to store the glycogen. I now need to burn that food off to bring condition for the show in just 7 days in Spain. You're not dropping out of shows at this point. I wouldn't anyway, but let's just put it this way. I've spent money on flights, hotels, and also the entry for the show. So I'm committed, I'm going all in, I'm doing the show. But that week was very, very tough because I was literally doing steps and struggling to walk. I managed to get it all done out of nowhere. I do not know how, but got through it all. Then going into Spain, you can imagine I've struggled for sleep that week as a result. My body's quite inflamed and very, very tired. So at this point, I'm just like, right, I just want to get this Spain show done. So the 4 shows in 4 weeks is done. This is exactly what I signed up for, challenging myself to the max and probably doing more than I should have done. and I definitely got that out of it and a lot of challenges along the way. Come the Spain show, I then started carbing up, was retaining a bit of water, and I literally said to myself in the days leading up to this show, if I can get on stage happy how I look, then that's going to be a win in itself. And to be honest, come that show and looking back on the pictures, knowing everything I've been through, knowing it was the 4th show in 4 weeks, I was very happy how I looked. So there we go, guys, quickly wrapped up the 4 shows in 4 weeks, definitely had their challenges, but overall, I've absolutely loved it. Competing on different stages, different countries, mix of international competitors, top pros, mixing with them all. And I will say one thing as well, thank you so much to everyone that spoke to me at these shows. In every country, I'm bumping into people that are following my journey, saying how it's inspired them, and it really uplifts me and makes me realize that I'm getting good things and doing good things within natural bodybuilding and men's physique to be doing what I'm doing, even though at times it's felt absolutely crazy and also had its lows along the way. So yeah, 4 shows, 4 weeks done, and then that's going to take us on now for the 2 big shows coming up, but we'll talk about that in a moment. So 5 things I've learned from the last 4 weeks, or not even just learned, things that have really been reinforced from me doing so many shows in a short space of time. You get to see the nitty-gritty of what goes on in physique competitions week after week. So not just based on what I've done, but also seeing what other people have done. So point number 1, bodybuilding is subjective. It is based off an opinion or multiple opinions of a judging panel. Now, one thing I've seen over these 4 weeks, and I'm not just talking about myself here, judges change. They've got different judges at different shows, and you've also got different competitors at each show. So I've seen it with myself and other people that placings change based on who's on the judging panel. So what I'm saying here is, if you want to compete, 1, you're going to have to be thick-skinned. You're going to have to take the fact that someone else's opinion might be different to your own, because I've seen people place lower than I thought they should have done, for example, because I prefer a certain look. That's the same with the judging panel. If you want to compete in bodybuilding, you're going to have to accept it. Be thick-skinned. Remember, you do this because you love it, and as much as you want to win, or even when you lose, it might not be a result of you looking bad. It can almost be because the person on the judging panel prefers a different look. So don't look at it from a negative standpoint of getting down on the judges and maybe slating them, because I see that happen as well. You've just got to accept that basically what they prefer in someone else, to them, is better. So I might look at a placing and go, I prefer that guy that finished 3rd over the winner, but if the winner's got something slightly different about their physique, that's what that judge is looking for. Accept it, take it as fuel for the fire, move on to the next show. And yeah, it is what it is. It's the game we're in. Point number 2, success is very personal. I've spoke about this before. You can define your own level of success, first of all. If that's getting on stage looking the best you ever have, for example, over winning a show, then that's success. That is winning to you, and that is great. But also from a standpoint of, everyone's in their own personal journey in this game. So if you're winning British titles, yes, of course, aim for a pro card. But if you're doing your first show, that's your first show. Your win is doing your first show, and then it's to climb the placings after that. So don't be comparing yourself to the success of someone else. Look at where your placings are and go up from there. So from my own personal standpoint, last year, my highest placing as a pro in my first season as a pro was 7th, and that was the same both in Germany and also at Worlds. Now going into this year, that's why it became my goal to get into a top 5. So I've done that. I've gone to Dubai, I placed top 5 there in my own height class. And then after that, that became tougher because I was in open height classes. So as you can see, even though I'm not winning, I'm making the right strides forwards, both in my physique and also with my placings as well. So just remember, guys, if you're not winning as in taking first place on stage, that does not mean you're not winning as a person and also progressing in your bodybuilding journey. So it's very, very important to realize that, because I've seen a lot of people come and go over the years in competing because they don't like to be seen to be losing as in not winning shows. Again, going back to point 1, you need a thick skin in this game. So have that and carry that into this also. If you're not winning, just see it as motivation. See it as, again, more fuel for the fire to keep on getting better, get back in the gym, keep doing what you love, and you're going to keep getting better and your results will get better. Okay, lesson number 3. This can apply to first-time competitors, so if you're doing your first prep, or people that have done multiple preps before. But if you've got more than one show planned in your season, and you've got 1 week, 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks before shows, I think one thing to be very, very aware of is that you are going to have to graft and work like crazy between those shows. Feel like some people may think, right, I was in shape for that first show, I just need to chill and maintain this now. That's not the case. Because, like I say, if you're carbing up for shows, all the rest of it, that food needs to be then burnt off to get back down to your stage condition pretty much. I mean, there are some freaks of nature out there, I've seen that, where some people can go and eat post-show and eat a lot of food and their body won't change too much. But I feel for the most people, that won't be the case. So don't go crazy post-show, because if you do, you're going to pay for it. Either you're going to have to graft even harder than you should have done, and it is not fun. Trust me, I've just done it for 4 weeks. Or you're going to get on shape not looking as good as you could have done for your further shows, and you're going to look back and go, why was I in better shape for the first show when I expected to get better as the shows went on? I've had a mixture of both over these 4 weeks. Kind of made me excited for these shows coming up now, which I'll speak about at the end of the video. But yeah, trust me guys, if you've got multiple shows, don't see coming off stage as a reason to go and binge. I literally got off stage and just got straight back on my diet because I knew this. I knew I'd carved up for the show. That was enough fuel to allow me to lift heavy the days after the show, keep my strength up. So yeah, definitely make sure you are willing to graft between shows and don't go off your diet completely. Point number 4, very, very important one. If you're going to compete, you have got to love it. Again, I've seen a lot of people come and go in competing, but it's the guys that stay in it for a long time, because long-term consistency is what's going to bring you the ability to go higher and higher within competing. But also, there is a lot of lows that come on this journey and a lot of sacrifices. So your why needs to be strong, the reason you're doing it, but you're going to have to be passionate about it and you're going to have to love it. So just ask yourself that question before you get into this game. Do I love training that much? Am I willing to sacrifice things along the way? Am I willing to dig deep to achieve what I want to achieve? Because with the social media these days, it is sad to see, but there are a lot of people that come and go because they're kind of doing it for some external validation. And trust me, that's not going to keep you in this game for long. Your validation needs to be very internal and personal to you. And the reasons you're doing it are because at the core of your reason has to be that you absolutely love it, you thrive under that pressure, and you want to keep getting better. So you have to be passionate about it and you have to love it to do it long term. Again, you might just want to do it as a one-off to challenge yourself, realize you don't enjoy it too much and you didn't really enjoy the journey of getting onto the stage. And I feel like that's perfectly fine. You will learn a lot as a person through doing that. But essentially, if you've got high goals of going pro and all the rest of it, you need to love it first of all. Love training, love working hard, and love the whole journey and be willing to sacrifice for it. I think it's very important that people are aware of that. They don't just see the glamour of, I don't know, getting on a pro stage or winning medals and thinking that it's easy, because it's not. So yeah, you've got to love it, but it's going to get tough at some point. 5th and final point, something I've experienced myself, but I've seen a lot from other competitors, especially in the amateur ranks when people are a bit newer to it. And I don't think this just applies to competing, to be honest. It applies to a lot of things in life. But basically, you need to be level-headed because you're never as good or as bad as you think. So by that, when you've had a good result on stage, you feel like you've absolutely nailed it and you're perfect sometimes. And then you get a bad result and you literally start to question absolutely everything you're doing. So I've seen it in these weeks. Someone doesn't place as they want, they're questioning their coach, They're questioning what food they carved up on. They're questioning how much water they've drank. They've questioned how long before the stage they last had a rice cake. You know, absolutely questioning everything. Whereas I can promise you, you didn't come second call out as opposed to first call out because of a rice cake. It's usually, I don't know, you might need to go away and spend a year or 6 months building more muscle, for example. So just be level-headed with things. You're never as good or as bad as you think. And also, let's say you're in that second call out, a lot of the time, you're not as far away from the first call out as you might feel because you're disappointed, as opposed to when you win, you might not be as good as you feel, and it was a lot closer in the result than you feel. So especially now in the pros, to be honest, it's something I've experienced whereby the margins between competitors from top to bottom is so fine. So it's important to be level-headed and strong-minded enough to realize where you need to improve, but almost not completely lose confidence. You're on that stage for a reason. Everyone looks great. So it's just a case of, like I say, being a bit thick-skinned, being level-headed, going away with the points to work with, and just not letting it completely ruin you when you don't get the result you want. But also, guys shouldn't have an ego when they get the result they do want, because before long, someone else is overtaking you, because let's be honest, it's probably close in that placing as well. So yeah, guys, never as good or as bad as you think. Stay level-headed, keep working, keep aiming to get better. So the plan from here now is I've got 2 shows left. So I've done 5 shows this year, 4 WMBF Pro shows. And if you watch the very first video I did this year when I started prep, you would have seen that the goal was to get better and better as the season went on. So what I've found is I've learned so much through the process of these shows, just little like nuggets like other competitors are using, little finer details. I've been learning something from every show, which I now carry into these next 2 shows. If you've followed me for long enough, you'd have seen that last year, after I turned pro, I did 2 pro shows, Germany and the Worlds. The 2 shows I now have left this year are Germany and the Worlds. So overall, the goal this year was to do better than last year in terms of placings and results. As much as I talk about personal success, I also want to climb the ranks in terms of how competitive I am. So now I've really been digging deep since the show last week in Spain. Food is low. I'm doing an hour's stairs a day. I'm doing 20,000 steps a day. So as you can imagine, that is a crazy high output, because now is the time to just throw everything at it right at the end of prep and bring that condition that I want to bring to the stage and make sure it's optimal in the way I look and be as competitive as possible. So I'm very happy how I am looking at this point, but I know I can get better as well. So that's the goal, guys. So we've got Germany in 2 weeks today, and then we've got the Worlds 5 weeks today. Last year, as I spoke about, 7th place, first year as a pro. Aim now is to beat those placings. Germany might be a bit of a tougher one than last year, because last year it was in height classes. I don't know if they're going to do that this year, but when it comes to Worlds, I'll be back competing with my fellow short guys. So the goal there overall, I'll just share on this channel, is to break into that top 5 and be in the top 5 pros in the world in my category this year. So yeah, that's my goals going forward. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and essentially I hope you've taken something from it, because the reason I do these videos is to try and help other competitors, inspire others. I've experienced so much in natural bodybuilding, in men's physique, and one thing I've learned along the way, in amongst winning, say, my British titles on my pro card, is the most satisfying thing for me is being able to help and inspire others, not just the results on stage. So I want to continue to share that. So please give the video a thumbs up if you've taken something from this. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, because there'll be plenty more to come to the channel. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. And next video will hopefully be in Germany.